Hi guys. I don't know. I just honestly just need to like do like a rant today because this is something that I've been like thinking about for the past, I would say like 2-ish weeks, maybe even a month. But it's something that I've like constantly for the past 2 weeks. But this is something that I've been like thinking about since I was like 10. Well, not really 10. I would say mostly since I was like 20. Like ever since I became when I became 20, I felt like every like 3 to 6 or like every month or like every time I had like a crisis, I was constantly reflecting on like life and just like looking back on like everything that happened, what I went through, what my friends go through, and just observing how life became the way it was for me and for other people, and just the way how society is. And every now and then I just keep on looking back at just how like people treat people, and I'm just like, I've talked about this in like other podcast episodes and like my YouTube videos before, and recently I've just been thinking about it a lot, of just the concept of just emotionally immature adults. And whenever every time I think about it, it makes me so thoroughly upset. Like when I say I want to throw hands, I want to throw hands on every emotionally immature adult I see for several reasons. But I'm going to just say this right now. I'm going to like, I'm going to be completely honest. This might be the meanest video I put up online. It might be, because I just need to like, this is me having a rant and just getting things off my chest. I don't know if I will upload this video, and if I do, God bless my peace and sanity after I post it up, because I don't know how people are going to respond to this video. And you might be thinking, oh my goodness, what are you gonna say? I just feel like whenever I talk about immature adults, I try to like have grace and mercy, because I try to like, you know, see why they were thinking the way they think and why they act the way they act, because not everyone grew up the same, and like, you know, life was different during their time. And I try to have a lot of grace and mercy despite none of them having it for us, because, you know, that's the Christian thing to do. That's what God did. That's what Jesus did. You know, he had grace and mercy for everyone, even his enemies. And I do my best to have grace and mercy, because I'm going to say it right now. If I wasn't a Christian, I would be one of the most villainous people on the planet. I would be such a menace to society. It would be ridiculous. Like, I would be such a villain. Like, I would be such a villain. I would be like a villain to like, I would be one of those people that like nobody liked, except for the few people that they're nice to. I would be like, oh, she's mean, but like when you get to know her, she's nice. I would be such a villain to people, because I would just have no patience for anyone. Like, you do one wrong move and I'm just quick to be like, you're done. You're done. Even though I'm kind of like that now, I would be like 12 times worse if I wasn't a Christian. But like, because I have grace and mercy, I do my best to like portray it, because that's what we're supposed to do. I do my best to like be understanding, and like, it's like I understand, but it's just I understand, but then there's other times I don't understand, because even when I'm trying to understand, that this is sound like it's kind of weird. I'm sorry. It's also 8:33 in the morning. I'm in my car because I had to wait until 9 o'clock for the pharmacy to open so I could get my meds. So I'm just waiting in the car, waiting on the side, not on the side. I parked the car because I was able to find a spot. But yeah, I'm just waiting. But while I was sitting here, I was supposed to be reading a book, but then I just had my little tangents to myself about just life, because I was thinking about Hunger Games. Now, I will also preface this. I have ADHD, so if this will be a bunch of different topics that all relate to each other, but they will go off tangent so quick. So just bear with me. It all will make sense. The dots will connect and they'll make sense. So this whole issue started because I was thinking about the movie Hunger Games, because today is the 22nd, which is a Wednesday, and the Hunger Games movie came out on the 17th, last week Friday. I didn't see the day premiere because last week Friday I was going to New Hampshire with my family because I was graduating on Saturday with my mom. So we went there, so I couldn't watch it. But I'm going to see the movie this Saturday with my friend, and I'm very excited. I've heard very good things about the movie. I've read the book, so I'm very excited about the whole, like, Hunger Games coming back, because I love Hunger Games. I loved it when it was coming out. I watched all the movies. I didn't read any of the books, but I did buy the books, and I'm going to do a series on my channel where I do book versus movie, and the Hunger Games series will be part of it, so just stay tuned for that. But yes, but I did read the prequel, because I bought the prequel book, and I was like, I want to read it before I watch the movie. So I read the book, absolutely loved it, gave it the 5 stars, I believe, and then now I'm excited for the movie, because it's like 91% ranked by the audience, which is like the highest ranked movie in the series. So that clearly tells that, like, it's a prequel, but like they did the movie pretty well for the audience, and that people love the fact that the Hunger Games concept is back. So anyway, I was thinking about the Hunger Games movie, right? And I was thinking about basically how, this is not really a spoiler, because if you read the book you would already know what happens in the whole movie, but I actually don't know when this video is going to come out, so I don't know. But anyway, one concept that I was thinking about was the main character, President Snow, which I'm not going to go on a tangent about Tom Blyth, and I'm not going to go on a tangent about how attractive that man is. I will just leave that as it is, because everyone knows that he's attractive, and the fact that he plays President Snow. Because I remember first seeing the trailers, and then I was like, I know he's supposed to be the villain, but why is he kind of hot? Like, I was like, but why is he kind of hot? Like, why would they make the President Snow a hottie? I'm like, damn, President Snow's hottie as a young one. Anyway, and then seeing the press pictures now of him, like seeing him at the premieres, I'm like, damn. Tom Blyth, them DMs are open. Anyway, so what was I saying about that? President Snow, I was talking about, yes, President Snow, because a concept, one like small little like plot line in the movie and the book is that, like, we all know now that this is a prequel, we seen the Hunger Games first 4 movies, the book, so we know President Snow's the villain. But now we are figuring out his like origin story, kind of, sort of, like we're seeing how he was as a youngin', when he was first introduced in the Hunger Games concept and like everything and all that stuff and blah blah blah. So while we're being introduced to that, we see that like in the first half, President Snow, he getting us. He's like, oh wait, maybe he'll be a good person. But you know, deep down, at the end of the day, he's still a bad person because he becomes a villain. You have to keep reminding yourself that he becomes a villain, and you're just waiting for it. You're waiting for the ball to drop, and then when the ball drops, you're like, damn, like, you know what I mean? So, anyway, what was I saying? I was getting to a point. President Snow and him being a villain. We're seeing how he becomes a villain. And a concept that happens is one of the teachers that he has in the book was like, knew his father, who is dead. And like they used to be best friends, but then they like had a falling out, and then now the teacher like despises President. Now he's not President Snow, because in the book he's just Snow. But what's his first name? I don't know. He's just Snow? We'll just say Snow, because he's not President Snow yet. He's just Snow. So Snow, his father was best friends with the teacher that he has. And I think the teacher is, I don't want to say a derogatory term for the guy that plays the teacher. I'm assuming that's him. I'm going to just put a picture, maybe if I have enough energy to put one up. Him. I'm pretty sure it's that guy. I'm pretty sure it's him who plays him. And the teacher was the former best friend of his dad. And then once his teacher sees him as teaching him, he doesn't like Snow. The entire time he's like, oh, like, you know, all Snows are the same. How, like, you know, they'll be nice to you. Then the minute they don't need you, they'll discard you and betray you, blah, blah, blah. Because he has personal experience with that. And then at first he doesn't get why the teacher doesn't like him. He's like, why does the teacher like, and he doesn't say like he knew his dad or anything. Like, he doesn't know that him and his dad have history. So he's like, I don't get why, you know, he's like being mean to me, like I don't get it. And then another guy tells him, oh yeah, your dad and him used to be best friends, but then something happened, they had a falling out, and then they're not friends anymore. And he was like, oh, okay. And then we kind of see that, like, basically, like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because Snow does the exact same thing to, like, he ends up being the same way. So, with that, now, that I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how excited I am about the movie, and about the series coming back, and I was talking about how, like, you know, I would love to see other characters, like, hey, Mitch, what's his name? The hot one. Well, there's a lot of hot ones, but what's his name? What's his name? The guy that had, like, the pitchfork weapon. What's his name? Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on his name. But he was the young hot one who we thought was annoying. He was the hot jerk in Catching Fire, but it turns out he was on Katniss's side, and he died in the last movie. I'm still not over that. I'm still mad about it. I think his name is Fink. I'm gonna just call him Fink the entire time. If it's not, don't come for me, please. But I think that's his name. But him, I was like, I would love to see his storyline. Even the girl that was, like, very, like, promiscuous, like, I would love to see her storyline. Seeing how, like, I would basically love to see each of their Hunger Games and how, like, they won and all that stuff. Because basically, Hunger Games, I feel like we can all collectively agree that it should come back because we miss it. And it's been gone for, like, what, over 10 years or 10 years? Or I don't know how long ago. Maybe it was 8 years. I don't think it was that long because it ended after Harry Potter. I think it was like 2013 when it ended. That's 11 years. I'm slow. I don't know when it ended. It ended a while ago. But we can all collectively agree that we want Hunger Games to come back. Like, this movie did well, so let's bring it back. Let's bring it back and let's run it back and let's start making Hunger Games. But, like, I would love for them to be books and then movies, because I think the fact that it's a book first and a movie, it's fleshed out and it's good. Because the prequel came out in 2020, I think. And then the movie came out in 2023, but there hasn't been another book. Or maybe there has been, I had no idea. I didn't know there was a prequel until I saw the trailers about the movie. And I was like, wait, there's a book? There's a book? So I bought the book, and then I read the book, and then I loved the book. Drink some water. But yeah, anyway. What was I saying? I was talking about something. This is relevant, I promise. President Snow. I'm getting there. So, the concept of the father's old best friend not liking Snow, and then, like, basically, like now he wasn't outwardly mistreating Snow, but he, like, would make side comments about Snow. Like, he would observe him and then be like, makes sense why you would act like that. And he'll make snarky remarks to him, and it's like, yo, what's your beef? What's your deal? And, like, to be honest, if we didn't know Snow was a bad person, we would be annoyed with the teacher. But, like, because we know Snow's a bad person, we're like, yeah, get him. But, like, if we didn't know Snow was bad, we would be confused too. So that concept reminded me of Harry Potter, where Harry and Snape, how Professor Snape and how, like, he hated Harry. This man, like, when I tell you the concept of adults being, like, having kids be their, like, arch nemesis, which I had that happen to me when I was, like, 5. I don't understand it. It's beyond me, because how are you a full-grown adult having beef with a child, a minor? Like, I'm fully undeveloped in the brain, and you beefing with me? Like, my brain doesn't develop until fully develop until 25. Like, my frontal vortex, whatever it is that doesn't develop until you're 25, fully develop until you're 25. I'm still developing in the brain, and you want to have beef with me? This makes no sense, because you're a full-grown adult. Why are you beefing with a child? Anyway, that whole concept has always been the wildest thing. And it's funny, because in, like, Good with Charlie, it was, like, the same thing with Gabe and the neighbor, how they were beefing for, like, years. This whole series, they were constantly beefing with each other. It's like, what does that neighbor have against Gabe? I mean, yeah, Gabe was a troublemaker sometimes, but, like, the neighbor was kind of doing too much, too. But the concept of adults beefing with kids is wild to me, because it's crazy, because it happens in real life. Anyway, I was thinking about how, like, it's, like, President, like, Snow and the teacher beefing with each other, which the beef is very small. It's not the main point of the plot. It's just a little plot point, but it kind of alludes to Snow's character and how he becomes who he becomes. So that's why he's being brought into the movie and the book. I don't know if it's prevalent in the movie. I would hope so, because I feel like it helps you build up the, like, inkling of, like, whatever. So I was thinking about Harry Potter, right? And how, like, Harry and Snape, how Snape hated Harry because his father was, at first we don't know why Snape hated Harry. We just thought that he was just a mean teacher. But then we come to find out at the last, and not the last movie, but like towards the end of the series, like I think in the 5th movie, we find out that Harry's dad bullied Snape. And we're like, oh, Snape, James Potter was a bully. No. Can we take a brief, I'm a little tangent. Can we take a brief moment to when I really, like, when I was first watching this series and I saw that plot point, I was like, damn, no wonder Snape hates Harry, because his father bullied him. But like, when you really sit here and think about it, it's crazy that happened. So like, okay, now we get why. Like, because James and Harry are very similar, and it probably triggers Snape to be like, oh my goodness, like, here we go, another guy that's gonna be a bully to people, blah blah. But then Harry is not a bully, but whatever. But then we watch the end of the last movie. Then we find out that, like, the reason, like Snape, it looks like we know why Snape doesn't like Harry, but then deep down he always cared for him and always looked out for him because he loved his mother. See, that plot point made me thoroughly mad, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you're gonna sit here and tell me that Professor Snape, this man, this freaking dumb little old man, was mad and being petty towards Harry his entire time at that school. We thinking because he was just an evil teacher. Then we find out, oh, because his dad was his former bully. But then we find out, oh, but he was in love with Lily Potter, Harry's mom. So you mean to sit here and tell me you was bullying me all these years, but you was in love with my mother? And so you had love, you took care of me because you loved my mother, but you were being spiteful to me my entire time at the school because you hated my dad because he was your former bully. Like if it don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. Because you're gonna sit here and tell me you was upset, you was in love with my mother. You loved her to the day she died. And that's, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why he stopped being a Death Eater, or that's why he went to Dumbledore, because Voldemort killed the love of his life. And he was like, Dad, why'd you have to kill her? Like, that's mad crazy that you did that. Now I'm gonna go to Dumbledore and be like, hey, bestie, Voldemort killed my love, so like, can I be on your side now? And then he became a double agent. But like, you mean to sit here and tell me that you was in love with my mother and you hated my dad, but you loved my mother? So you took care of me behind the scenes, but to my face you were being just a spiteful little twat. I want to throw hands. I want to throw hands. Because how are you going to sit here and let past affect how you treat a child? And it's like, you saw, since like and I just recently watched the first movie of Harry Potter because I was like watching the series all over again. I watched the first movie like a week ago, and Harry was an innocent child who came into this world. He didn't even know about wizards and witches and all that. He didn't know nothing about the magical world. He came into the world, and the first time he meets Snape, the first interaction he has with this man, he is taking notes in class because he was in the Muggle world, and when you're in class, you take notes. And Snape was getting at him because he was taking notes because he wasn't paying attention. But then towards the end of that first conversation, he was like, why is no one taking notes? Because you just came at someone for taking notes in class while you were talking. Now all of a sudden you want to be like, oh, why is someone taking notes? The hypocrisy is crazy. And then you know he knows nothing about the magic world. You know that. But yet, so you choose to pick on him and to embarrass him in front of the entire class, knowing he knows nothing about this world. This is his first time being in this world. You know everything about Harry because Dumbledore has been telling you, because it was your responsibility to help take care of him and watch him and all that stuff. And yet you had the audacity to come at him the way you did the entire 8 years. 7, because it was 7 years. The last one broke into 2 movies. All that time. And you knew that you knew stuff about him. And you still chose to bully him that entire time. You're evil. I don't care. I don't care that he was in love with Harry's mom. I don't care. I don't care. Because it doesn't excuse the BS that he put Harry through all that time. And yes, Harry understood him and he had love for him. He said, oh, you love my mom. I would have been like, so you're gonna sit here and tell me he was understanding for it? And he's like, I understand now. And I understood too. For a hot second, and then I really sat and thought about it, and I was like, that don't make no sense. That's stupid. Because, yeah, you love my mom, but why'd you treat me like that all them years? And because he's dead, you know, he was able to part his ways with Snape, and he can't really argue with the wall. Arguing with Snape is like arguing with the wall at that point, because he died. And it was just like, oh, but like Snape's a sweetheart. No, that man is not a sweetheart. That man is an immature little rat that needs to go to therapy and didn't, and he took his anger out on an innocent child. And that, the concept of adults, because they're not emotionally mature and in tune with their own emotions, projecting their anger and projecting all their immaturities and their insecurities onto innocent kids because they know the kid can't defend themselves, that makes me thoroughly upset, because you know what you're doing the entire time you're doing it. You know that you have the right to like borderline abuse this child because of what you went through. And instead of you seeing that what you went through as like, I was in pain, so I don't want to like put that pain on someone else. You're like, I'm mad and I'm hurt, so I'm gonna hurt someone else. I'm gonna hurt someone else who's also defenseless and helpless, which is a child. And then when they try to defend themselves, I'm going to make them feel like they're in the wrong for defending themselves, because who are they to tell me what to do when I'm the adult in the situation? And that's why it makes me really mad about that. So anytime when I see in movies when there's an adult that is beefing with a kid because of a past they have with the kid's parents, oh my gosh, I want to take this bottle and just chuck it at your head. Because you mean to sit here and tell me because you have beef with my parents, I gotta deal with the issues you have with them? I got enough beef with them myself. I don't need you to be beefing with me because of them. Join the team, join the club, because we're on the same side here, Pookie. Like, oh my gosh, like you cannot be so for real right now. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that you beefing with me because you beefing with my parents. Now I'm gonna throw hands on you and them, because why am I the victim of everyone else's problems? Why is it my fault that y'all can't get together? That makes no sense. And it makes no sense to me. And whenever I genuinely sit here and think about it, it makes me mad, because it's like as I'm getting older, and I'm 24, I'm getting older, and I'm in a position where it's like, I feel like the middle child, where it's like, I feel like young adults are middle kids, because they're adults to like kids who are like 11 and under. They're like ancient. They're like senior citizens to people who are 11 and younger, or like in high school. Like, oh, you're like 24, you're like almost a senior citizen. Where's your AARP card or something like that? So it's like, dag. But then to their parents and like other people who are older, oh, you're still young and you're still basically like an infant, basically. Like you just became an adult. You're still a child. And it's like, okay, I may be a child, but yeah, so are you, because you have the maturity of a 2-year-old. Why do we have the same maturity level? But yeah, you're significantly older than me. That's crazy. And you have the audacity to come out your mouth and sit here and tell me how I don't know nothing, but yeah, neither do you. And that's the part that gets me about it, is that the hypocrisy. When I say the hypocrisy that adults spew is disgusting. And this is when I'm gonna get mean, and I apologize in advance. I'm gonna apologize now, because I will try to calm down and be civil and be understanding. But right now, I just gotta be I gotta be an angry girl, because it just makes me so thoroughly upset to see adults who have claimed for years and centuries and eons that they know everything, and that you don't know nothing because you're the child. You don't know nothing because you're young. You don't know nothing, and they know everything. They have more experience than you, and you won't know anything. You don't know what it's like being in their shoes because you're not a parent, you're not a teacher, you're not an adult, blah, 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 blah. But then when you get in their shoes and you see the BS they put you through and how it could have been avoided, oh my gosh, it makes me so angry. Like, it makes me want to throw hands. Like, throw hands. Like, I want to go in a boxing match and fight everybody on sight right now. Because you mean to sit here and tell me for all that time you told me and other kids that we had to wait until we become an adult, and then when we get in your shoes, then we'll understand why you did the things you did and why you acted the way you acted. But in reality, half of the beef you had with kids was your own insecurities, your own issues, your own trauma. There's a person sitting right next to me. Okay, they're returning. It was your own issues. Your own issues because of what your parents did to you, or because of what other people did to you, because of your own personal traumas and insecurities, and you took them out on an innocent child because you knew they couldn't defend themselves. And you want to know how I know you knew? Because when they tried to defend themselves, you sat there and validated them, gaslit them, and manipulated them into thinking that they were the problem, when in reality you were the problem the entire time. The sun is really not helping the situation because it's rising. Like, can you not? I'm trying to vent here. I'm trying to like be angry, and you're ruining. And I would like sit in the passenger seat, but like, there are people on the streets. I don't want, like, they really gonna hear me then. And the reason why I'm so calm is because I'm out in public. Because if I was in my room with making this video, I would have been foaming at the mouth at this point. That's why. It's just like, it just makes me so upset seeing how hypocritical adults are. Y'all are the biggest hypocrites I've ever seen in my entire life. In fact, you guys are the only hypocrites I see. The only hypocrites. Because y'all will sit here and tell us how we don't know nothing and how you guys know everything, but then sit here and audaciously say, coming out your mouth, well, how was I supposed to know? I'm not gonna know everything. I'm just a human. Well, so was I. And I was also a freaking child. I was also a whole child, learning how to become an adult, learning how to become a human being. I had a reason why to act immature, because I was a child. I was a child. You are an adult. So what was your excuse? You had trauma from when you were a kid? Okay, so why didn't you get a therapist? Okay, so why didn't you go talk about it? Okay, so why didn't you say something about it? Because you didn't know how to be mature. You didn't know how to deal with your emotions. Okay, and I'll give you that. I'll give you that, you know, growing up, mental health and just, you know, emotions weren't talked about enough. And that's what you didn't know to talk about them, because that never happened when you were growing up. I understand that concept, but this is when I'm like, I understand that to a certain extent. Because, yes, it can be because you just weren't aware that this was something that you could do, that you could talk about your emotions, and you realized that those were the reasons why you acted out when you were a kid, this and that, and then now that you're an adult, you can understand it. My thing is, you can sit here and say it's because when you were growing up, you didn't learn about emotional well-being. My thing is, when you got to the point where you became aware, as an adult, you chose to continue the same thing that your parents did, or that adults did in your life, because you saw how your parents were in tune with their emotions and how they acted, or like you saw how adults treated you when they were in tune with their emotions, and you didn't like how it happened to you. But instead of you seeing that and being like, I don't want to do that to my kids, or I don't want to do that to other kids, I don't want to do that to the next generation, I want to be different, I want to be better. Instead of you doing that, you decided to be like, oh, well, now I get to do it to them. Oh, well, now I get to be the person that gets to project my anger and my emotions on kids because they can't defend themselves, like how I was defenseless. Or you are in agreement that emotions don't really matter, because emotions are emotions, and if you can't be in tune, if you have to be in tune your emotions, you're just weak, you're just sensitive, blah blah blah. You agree with the concept that like you just gotta tough it out and then just like not care about your emotions and not regard them. You have to just like be like, okay, like, well, emotions are just emotions, like it doesn't really matter. You agree with that. You agree with that concept that emotions don't really matter. So when a kid is sitting here and telling you that, oh, you said this and it affected me, or you did this and it hurt my feelings, you telling the kid, oh, well, stop being so sensitive, you believe that doing that is right. Because when it happened to you, you didn't like it. But then when you became an adult, you realized, well, okay, now I see why they did that, so I'm going to continue it. You agreed with doing that. That's why you kept doing it. Because there are a lot of things that adults did to me as a kid, and when I'm an adult now, I'm like, I don't want to ever do that to a kid, ever. Because it was horrible when it happened to me. That rocked my world in several ways. I had to deal with a lot of people's emotions because no one dealt with it themselves. And I'm here like, I will never do that to a kid. And it's like, I can understand to a certain extent, like, I have grace and mercy, but it's just like, it's crazy how that grace and mercy was never reciprocated. It's kind of crazy. And it's just like, adults will sit here and get mad at kids for being emotional, but then sit here and have temper tantrums every 2 seconds when people say things they don't like, or whenever a kid says one bad thing about them. God forbid someone said that you said something that was mean. You have a hissy fit. You have a temper tantrum, but that the kid's yelling because they don't want to do homework, and that you want to beat them senseless because they're annoying you. You don't want to deal with it today. That's the part that gets me mad, because you want to sit here and act as if you are mature when you are not. You are, in fact, more immature than a child, because the child has a reason. They don't know better. You know better, and you're not doing better. That's why I get mad. Because it's like, y'all will sit here and ridicule kids and talk about how we're worse, we're this. Oh, the young generation, they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. You know how many times I had adults tell me to my face that young people are stupid and that they're loud and obnoxious and they're this and they're that, and I have to sit here and pretend like it's fine? And then when I say something, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And you don't either, but yet you acting like you do. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And adults will sit here, and every time I say something, I always get clapped at. I always get backlash because I'm young and I don't know what I'm talking about. But yet, and still, like, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm really getting mad now. I'm really getting mad now, because it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. Like, I literally talk to my social worker about stuff like this because it makes me feral. It makes me feral, because this is the reason why Gen Z has such a like an issue with like adults, and we don't want to listen to nobody, because no one's ever listened to us. No one's ever listened to us. We've been saying our issues since we were kids, and no one cared enough to listen. No one cared. Because if y'all cared, y'all would have listened when we were young. If you cared, you would have listened to it the first time someone told you, hey, you did this and it hurt me. Oh, hey, you did this and I didn't appreciate that. Oh, hey, when this happened, it affected me in this way, and I want to let you know so that way this wouldn't happen again. Instead, y'all sat there, y'all gaslight, y'all gaslit us and validated us, made us feel small, and it made it to the point where we don't want to talk about our emotions, because we feel like every time when something happens to us, it's our fault because we're just being sensitive, we're just being dramatic, we're just being whatever. Like, y'all sat there and made us believe that for years. And then when we become adults, then you will sit here and tell to our faces that we were right and that you were wrong, but you didn't want to admit it because you were in a mood. Oh, I do not think you understand how many, like, and I'm saying that because people have told me that to my face. Oh my gosh, I'm getting mad. I'm getting so mad. I'm getting mad and I'm in public. I gotta calm down. Like, it's just like, I don't think y'all understand how, like, mad, it makes me mad, because it's just like, I don't think y'all understand how frustrating that is to have adults sit there and tell you that you were right, they just didn't want to admit it. Or that you were right, but at the time they were going through things and that's why they did what they did. But yeah, I actively sat there and told you that what you did hurt me, and you just told me that I was wrong, but that I wasn't. Because that just makes me think that when people say stuff like that, they just don't want to admit they're wrong. And it's just like, you don't want to admit you're wrong because you feel like the case shouldn't be proven right. Like, what's the reason behind that? Why can't you sit there and that's because of pride and ego. Because why else would you not be able to humble yourself to acknowledge that you are a person who is sometimes in the wrong? Because you didn't learn it. Okay, but when someone, okay, you didn't know. But then when someone makes you aware, you choose to continue to act the same. That's the part that really gets me mad, because it's like, it's not like as if you don't know. Oh my goodness, I have to like, I'm like banging on the car and it like messed up the angle. Because it's like, you can't say you didn't know anymore. Because y'all, that's the thing about it, is that like, y'all will sit here and say, oh, we didn't know. But then when y'all get told, y'all don't listen anyway. So what's the real reason? Because y'all will sit here and say you don't know and that you can't know everything, but yet you expect us to know everything. You guys set expectations that you can't even meet yourself. You get mad when we can't meet your expectations, but yet you will sit here and actively not meet the expectations you set for us. You can't even lead by example, but yet you're mad that we can't even do what you wanted us to do. And have no grace, no mercy, yell and scream to the top of your lungs because you're mad about something. And then when we become adults, then it's like, oh, now I can talk to you because you're an adult. No. And it's just like, that's crazy. Because I remember, I talked about this kind of briefly in a video essay where I was saying, like, Gen Z, you need to stop waiting until we're adults to give us respect, because it feels like adults don't respect kids. Because I don't understand how y'all can sit here and say you care about people, especially young people, but then you actively dismiss their emotions. Actively dismiss when they have opinions about you that you don't like. Just because, like, how can a kid be so smart when they get straight A's, or when they, like, you know, when they're the best at a sport, or like when they win competitions, but yet the minute they say one constructive comment about you, all of a sudden they don't know nothing. You guys pick and choose when we're smart and when we're dumb. We're smart when it comes to academics and when it comes to being the best at something in a competition, but then when it comes to me telling you that you did something that I feel like shouldn't be done, all of a sudden, I don't know what I'm talking about. I ain't shut my mouth. I ain't stay in my place. I ain't stay in my lane. And then you talk to kids like that, and then wonder why we don't want to talk to you back. When we get older, you wonder why when we become adults, we get snippy and we start attacking you guys. Oh, why? Oh, you think because you're an adult that you can talk like that? No. You showed me that because no, and it's like, even if, okay, let's say I become an adult and I'm starting to be snippy. There's a few reasons why when people become 18, they start, like, if they were never a person that was confrontational, they all of a sudden have everything to say, and they want to ridicule everything you did to them. Because they were thinking this as a kid and you never allowed them to have a voice. 1. 2, they are realizing that you are the biggest hypocrite in their life and they are mad about it because you pretended like you weren't. 2. 3, I don't know. I think that's basically it. Like when you really think about it, we are realizing that there are a lot of things that, like, adults in our lives did that, like, we realize shouldn't have been done. And now that we're adults, they're like, oh yeah, like, this is what we adults do. And then you're like, okay, but if a kid did that, you would penalize them, ridicule them, spit in their face, and chew them up and tell them how they're disgraceful. But yet when you do it, it's, everyone makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. So, like, just let me live. Grace and mercy. But yet you give no kid grace and mercy. A kid that actually deserves grace and mercy because they're learning how to be a human doesn't get the grace and mercy. But yet you, a 40-plus-year-old adult, is expected to get grace and mercy from a child. Oh, you don't understand because it's hard. Okay, but then when I say life is hard, oh, you don't know what it's like to have life be hard. You don't know what it's like. And it's like, I'm gonna say something. Parents, you guys will sit here and tell us, oh, we don't know what it's like being a parent. But yeah, I could flip it. You don't know what it's like being a kid. You don't know what it's like being raised by someone like you. Not saying that, like, you're a bad parent. And let me make this perfectly crystal clear. Let me make it crystal clear. When a kid is telling you that you did something that hurt their feelings, that is not them saying you are a bad parent. That is your insecurities as a parent coming out and being projected in your own brain. You think that because you did one wrong thing, that means you're a bad parent. It does not mean you're a bad parent. It just means you're human. When your kid is sitting there telling you that you did something that hurt their feelings, they are doing that because you probably have once or twice or have often told them that you are a person that will love them forever, unconditionally, never hurt them. So when they see you doing something that's hurting them, they're like, oh, but like mom and dad said they wouldn't hurt me, but they're hurting me. So let me go tell them because maybe they just don't know. And then you tell them, oh, hey, you did this and it hurt me. And then their response is, oh, well, you deserved it. Oh, well, you're sensitive. Oh, well, move on. Then the child sees, oh, so they're liars because they told me they wouldn't hurt me, but yet here they are actively hurting me. Because here I am thinking that maybe they didn't know, but they did know. And they still did it. And even if they didn't know, they didn't apologize. They, like, you know, because when you unintentionally hurt someone that you love, you say sorry, you apologize, and you don't do it again. Like, if you're walking next to someone and you step on their toe, you say, oh, sorry, because you didn't mean to. But then when it comes to you unintentionally hurting your kid, oh, but I didn't mean to, so just get over yourself. But if you didn't mean to, why aren't you saying sorry? So because you didn't mean to, that makes what you did okay? Like, that's like me walking next to my friend. I step on her toe and she's like, oh, ow, you hurt me because you stepped on me. Oh, but I didn't mean to, so just get over yourself. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just stepped on your toe, like, get over it. That sounds stupid. That's exactly what you're doing to kids. Like, y'all will sit here and be like, oh, but it wasn't on purpose, so just get over yourself. But I had good intentions to, like, just see that. And it's just like, you're like, oh, you'll understand when you get older, because you're expecting them, you're making them wait until they get older to then be like, oh, now I understand. But you could have told them now when they were, there's some concepts that kids can't understand if you just took the time to explain it to them. But you don't want to because you don't have the patience to, or maybe you don't know how to, or maybe you just don't feel like it, whatever the reason is. Or you feel like you're too prideful, like, oh, I don't owe them nothing. I don't owe them an explanation because I'm the adult. Okay, but you giving them an explanation can help them understand you as a human. You want to sit here, you only will acknowledge you're human when you make mistakes, so that way your kid cannot confront you about them. But yet, you want to act like you know everything, and you don't have to explain anything when it comes to your kid trying to have conversations with you. And then y'all wonder why kids don't want to communicate. They only want to talk to their friends. Because you sit and you tell them, I'm not one of your little friends. You are absolutely correct. Because my friends would never hurt me the way you hurt me. My friends, when I tell them, hey, you did X, Y, and Z, they apologize. They sit there, they tell me they're sorry. They tell me they won't do it again. Or we have a conversation and maybe it was a misunderstanding. And they will sit there and treat me like a human being. Whenever it comes to emotions, adults do not treat kids like humans. They treat them like feral trash. Let's be real. Why Gen Z has so many mental health issues? Partially because y'all never handle your own emotions. And now we have to deal with your emotions, grandma's emotions, grandpa's emotions. We have to deal with everyone else's emotions before us because no one ever did before. And we were actively trying to tell y'all for years that we are hurting and we are in pain. And y'all actively chose again and again and again and again to not listen, to keep telling us that we're just in our heads about everything and that it's just made up. Now you're seeing how bad it really is. And now it's like, oh, why didn't you say something? Oh, I would have helped you. I did and you didn't listen. I didn't. You told me I was wrong. So don't sit here and pretend like you don't know, or that I didn't say something when we have. We've been telling you this for a long time. We're just tired of repeating the same concept over and over again. We're sick and tired of going to the same person expecting different results. Do you know how hurtful it is to go to someone over and over and over and over again about the same things over and over again, hoping that this time it'll be different, and the same thing happens? At some point, we get tired of crying. At some point, we get tired of dealing with everyone's emotions. It is a lot to have to deal with a full-grown adult's emotions at the ripe age of like 12. Or however young you are, or even when you're young, like a young adult. It is not easy having to deal with everyone else's emotions because they can't handle their own emotions. Because you will sit there, yell and scream at them, and then send them to their room, or yell and scream at them and send them to the principal's office. And then you got your anger out the way, you got your emotions out the way, but because you got them out, you put them onto that kid, and now the kid has to understand why you were mad, and then deal with their own emotions, the emotions that they can't even understand because they're still developing, because they're not 25 yet. Having to deal with all that at such a young age, and sometimes it stunts their growth, and they can never like develop and grow because they're like still trying to figure out why things happen to them at the age of 12. And now they have to either go to therapy, or they have to like they go to like drugs, or like they have unprotected sex, or whatever the case may be. They do other things like, oh, that's not the right way. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm going to keep it a buck. If y'all going to have the audacity to, oh, well, that's why you have God in your life. Because the crazy thing about it is that Christian parents do the exact same thing, if not worse. If not worse. Because it's like y'all will sit here and then blame the kid for their wrongdoings. and sit here and be like, oh, well, like, your problems aren't that important. Your problems are nothing, because when I was your age, I dealt with 12 times more things than you. How do you think that kid feels? How do you expect that kid to go to God about their problems when they can't even go to you about their problems? In the Bible, it says to raise your kids, upbring them, and teach them about God. You are their first example of adults and basically how God is, because God is our Father. Our Father has unconditional love for us. He's there for us. He is our counselor. He's our healer. He's our everything. And so are parents. And if you are not being a good example of what a healer, a protector, a counselor, a provider is, how do you expect that kid to know how God really is a good God? How do you expect them to see that that He's a Father to be trusted, if you can't even do it for your own kids? Because you can sit here and say, oh, well, you're not praying hard enough. If you would just pray, then like God would heal you. Well, how am I supposed to know to go to God if I can't even go to you about my problems? Because how am I supposed to, like, they could be thinking, oh, well, my problems aren't big enough for God to deal with them, so I can't talk to Him about them. That's how some kids think. Because that's how I thought when I was 14. Like, looking back now at how I was in high school, I wish I would have prayed more. But the reason why I didn't is because I didn't think God cared enough. I didn't think God cared about my problems, because I actually saw how people didn't care about my problems. I actively saw how every time when I spoke about my problems, it led to more chaos. It did more harm than good, so I just gave up trying. It's not that, like, I gave up. It was that I was just like, oh, so I tried talking about it. It didn't work, so I'm not going to do that again, because that just hurts. But then I kept trying, and I kept trying, and it just kept not working. But I was like, maybe one day. And then I realized I would just go into the wrong people. And then I realized, okay, let me just go straight to God for it. But I didn't know to go to God at a young age, because it was like, I thought maybe like the people that were meant to be examples of God to me were showing me that, like, oh, that like God handles the big things. So you don't go to Him at a younger age. Because I'm like, and here's the thing, I did go to Him when I had my really big problems. I went to Him and He helped me, and I was grateful for it. But then something else happened that was small. But like 1,000 small things happened to lead to the big meltdown. And if I would have just talked to God about every little small thing, the meltdowns would never happen. But I only talked to God when I had a big meltdown. I was like, God, you need to help me, because life ain't lifing right now. Life ain't looking worth it right now. It was giving Ecclesiastes every single week. Now, if you know about what Ecclesiastes is, you know. High school was my Ecclesiastes, for real. Like, let's keep it a buck. That was my Ecclesiastes. It was giving Ecclesiastes and Job. It was. And it was just like, that's how I felt. And I didn't think to go to God until it was really bad, because I was like, well, if people only care when it's really bad, I'm pretty sure God feels the same. And now I'm realizing at the stage of 24 that that's wrong, that He cares about everything, even the littlest things. But because of how people were responding, that's how I felt God was. And now that I know that that's not the case, I'm like, well, Dad, I wish I would have known that sooner. But like, I was a child. How was I supposed to know when the people that was supposed to show me didn't know how to show me? Or like the people that, like, you know, whoever was supposed to be teaching me, like, how was I supposed to know? I was a kid. And that's the thing about it, is that adults are supposed to know better, but they don't do better half the time. And that's infuriating, because like, you expect kids to do that, but you don't do it yourself. That's why I'm like, it makes me so angry. Because it's like, I sit here and I'm like, you know, I'm 24. The thought of having a kid is not in my radar right now. But like, at some point, like, I feel like I would want kids in the future, because at some point I'm gonna get lonely. So it's like, I would want a family. But I'm not. Like, I know, like, when I have kids, whoa, there was, like, a burp stuck, and I felt it was gonna throw, but I was gonna freak out for a second. But, like, when I have kids, I want to make sure that I, like, become emotionally, that I am emotionally mature enough to raise kids. Because I feel like this is the part where now I could calm down and be like, I can be understanding. Because I feel like the reason why adults are so emotionally immature is because they didn't think to know to teach themselves how to become emotionally mature, because they were so focused on like helping with finances, because they had financial issues. Like when they were growing up, their family were either low class, like welfare. So when they grew up, they wanted to like, they focused on the money, because they thought money was the only issues that they had. When in reality, that was just one of them. So now that they solved the money issue, they think, okay, the money issue's good. So now I don't have to, like, I solved the problem that I had growing up. So now my kid's gonna have a better life because we'll have more money. And then when the kid's sitting here saying, oh, you did this and it hurt me, they're like, oh, but like I'm over here busting my behind trying to make sure we have enough money, and you're over here sitting here about emotions. Like, don't you see all the hard work I'm putting in to make sure we have enough money to be able to have food on the plates and be able to have the clothes on your backs? Like, why are you not being grateful? Why are you not seeing all the hard work I'm putting into it? Because they're a child. One, because they don't know. Because they're a child, they're not thinking about money issues, because they don't know your money issues growing up, because you probably never told them. And then when you tell them to make them feel small. You tell them, oh, I didn't have half stuff you have. Be grateful for what you have. But then it's like you're telling them to be grateful all the time. Because I feel like also when you tell people to be grateful, you got to be mindful when you say that, because you can say be grateful so much that it makes them not want to ask for anything ever. Like, it makes them comes to the point where like, oh, make sure you're grateful for everything you get. And it's going to make them not want anything, because if they don't say thank you quick enough, or if they don't like show enough gratitude, or if they're not grateful for every single thing they get, they're going to be deemed as ungrateful, and that's going to mess with their heads, and then they're going to be an ungrateful, spoiled brat, because people that don't say thank you, don't have manners, are ungrateful and they're spoiled, and you don't want to be ungrateful and spoiled, so you want to make sure you're grateful for everything. Like, that can mess with a kid's head so much. And like, you can have good intentions, but just be mindful of how often you say it and when you say it. Because it's like, if you keep telling the kid like, let's say you gave them something and they forgot to say thank you one time. Hello, where's your manners? And they're like, oh, they just simply forgot to say thank you. That's all it was. It wasn't like they were being ungrateful, but you think they were not saying thank you because they were being ungrateful, when in reality, they just forgot to say thank you. Like, oh, when someone gave them a gift, oh, did you say thank you? Oh, no, I forgot. Oh, why are you being ungrateful? Who said they being ungrateful? They just forgot something. Like, dang. And it's like, sometimes it's like, how, like, do y'all expect your kids to be gremlins, be horrible people? Because why do you expect them to always be the worst? And like, you need to stop being this, when they just made a mistake. Like, you will sit here and call them ungrateful because they didn't say thank you, because they forgot. But yet you forget half the things you're supposed to do all the time, but yet no one should yell at you about it. It's hypocritical. The hypocrisy that adults portray to kids is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life, because you guys will sit there and continue to raise kids off of hypocrisy and think it's okay and not change. That's the part that's crazy, is that you guys would sit here, be hypocritical, know you're being hypocritical, and not care to change. So now you're being ignorant. And that's what makes me mad, because it's like, you guys will sit here and be ignorant and think that what you're doing is right, or not care to change, and then expect people to treat you nice. Like, it's kind of crazy. It's audacious. That's what that is. It's audacious. It's crazy. And I don't know what pill you took, but you need to get off the meds, because that ain't making sense. I feel like I got that out the way. And can you see how it started from Home Games to Harry Potter to then just being like concept? Because the reason why I was upset was because it was just like, I'm sick of the concept that like adults are allowed to project their traumas onto kids because they didn't handle it themselves. Like, if you couldn't handle your own emotions, what makes you think a kid can? And it just feels like adults are aware that they have the power to do that to a kid. Because the reason why I say that is because when someone tells you that they hurt you, no, that you hurt them, and you didn't mean to, your initial response would be to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. I'm so sorry. And instead, you guys you victim blame. You say, oh, well, if you didn't take it so seriously, how about you stop getting so offended by what I said and just listen to what I said? Like, the message was right, but you just get insensitive and then. And it's just like, no, you're actually the sensitive one. You're actually the one getting offended, because I'm sitting here telling you that you're putting me in pain, and you're going to sit here and tell me that I'm wrong when I'm right. But then you're realizing that, like, you doing this, you projecting your emotions on me, and I'm telling you that you can't do that. That means you have to find another way how to do it, and because you don't want to find another way how to do it, you don't know how else to do it, you're going to sit here and tell me that I'm wrong, so you keep doing it. Because it's like, if you didn't mean to hurt me, you would have said sorry, you would have stopped. But instead, you sat here and told me that that what you're doing is okay when it's not. You know what you're doing, and you're choosing to continue to do it. Because why else would you do it? Why else would you continue to do the things you do, despite knowing that they hurt people's feelings? Because you think, oh, it's for the best, it's for the better, oh, it's going to help them grow. Help them grow how? It's actually going to stunt their growth, because now they're going to have the mental maturity of a 14-year-old, because they're stuck at 14 because they never got to develop, because they kept trying to tell you that they're having issues and you don't want to listen to them because you feel like they're too young to understand anything. Like, make it make sense. Like, I am 24, trying to understand why there are people double my age and older acting so immature and having the mental. And then the crazier part is that younger people than me are witnessing it too. They see it too. You think young people don't know what y'all doing, but they do. And then when they act just like y'all, if not worse, you're confused. Oh, why are you acting like that? Because you act like that. And that's going back to what I was saying, like, when we're 18 and we start all of a sudden, like, because kids get to an age where they will start to be like penalizing their parents for what they did, like all the things they did. And then I think parents see that as a way of, like, attacking their identity as a parent. Because I sit here and I think, why do parents get so triggered when you say one bad thing about them, or you say one constructive thing about them? They get so mad. And it's like, it doesn't make sense why they get that mad. And I think it's because they feel like all the hard work they put to, like, taking care of the kid either is, like, not being appreciated, or they feel like the insecurities of them not being a good enough parent is true. Or their kids pointing out something in them is a flaw that they've had for so long, and they're actively working on it, but then their kids telling them, oh, you did this and it hurts me. That shows them that, like, no matter how hard they try, this flaw will always be a flaw, and they will never be able to work on it. And it frustrates them, so then they're taking it out on their kid. There's an infinite amount of reasons why parents react the way they react, because the reactions are big and outrageous and they're dramatic, but there's a reason behind it. But we won't know until we go to therapy for it, and our therapists tell us, or we take years analyzing their actions, trying to figure out why they act the way they act, and then we realize it and we're like, oh, that's why. So now it's like, okay, now I understand. That doesn't mean what you did was okay. Because another thing parents will say is, oh, when you get older, you'll understand. You are correct. I do understand. But you guys think that means because I understand it, it justifies what you did. And that's where Gen Z disagrees with parents a lot, or adults in general, a lot. Just because I understand why you did what you did doesn't mean that I agree with it. It doesn't mean that I think what you did was okay. Just because you was a hurt person in your past doesn't excuse you hurting me in my present. Because now I have to deal with your issues and my issues at half the age you had to deal with them. Because you dealt with bad things, and it's unfortunate you had a bad past, and unfortunately hurt people because they don't know better. But then it's like, when you learn to know better, you guys don't do better. Or you learn to know better and you do better, but you do better for everyone else but your own kid or kids. And that's another crazy thing, because you guys will sit here and then be better people in the future. Like, you realize, oh, like, there were some things that I did that I'm not too proud of, but, like, you know, I'm a changed person now. But yeah, you never apologize to people in your past, and you never acknowledge that, you would never admit that what you did in the past was wrong, or like you don't want to bring it up because either it brings you pain that you hurt people that you care about, or you bringing it back up, it might trigger something and it might make you go back to your old ways, so you don't want to even have to acknowledge it. But just like how addicts, when they're in recovery, and a part of the step is to ask for forgiveness, because they realize that yes, being an addict is a disease. It's like a mental illness is a disease. That doesn't excuse the pain that you caused people when you were under the influence of whatever substance you were abusing. And they had to acknowledge that they hurt people. Like, they were hurting and they hurt people while they were hurting, and they had to admit that they had to apologize for the pain they caused them. Because they like, yes, what you went through was unfortunate, but it doesn't excuse the behavior that you portrayed onto other people and the pain you caused. Because you became a better person, that doesn't erase the pain that you caused other people. Like, yeah, you were able to move on from that, but the people that you caused pain weren't able to move on. And now it's going to be harder for them to move on because you can't own up to the fact that you did something wrong and you apologize. You can't humble yourself, or it's hard for you to admit that you did something wrong and you have to apologize. If addicts had to apologize for their behavior when they were under substance abuse, so do you. Even if you are a better person now. Even if you are still a changing person and you had a bad past, but now you're actively getting better. Why is this person standing right next to the car? Like, this man just stood there and just looked in the car. And now he's like smoking or whatever. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but yeah. So, yeah, walk away. I don't know why you, like, he legit just stood, like, right there and looked in the car and then, like, kept walking. My head's hurting. But, yeah. I think I'm done. I just had to rant about that because it was just, like, I'm just seeing too many examples of immature adults in my life, and it genuinely... Like in my life, when I mean in my life, I mean like both like in person, but also like on like social media and like just media in general, mostly, I would say. But then also it's like, it's a little bit of me seeing it in person, but mostly me remembering it from my past, but also like just, it's layers of things. But it's just like, it's just so upsetting because it's just like, it's upsetting to see that like older adults just have the belief that like they're right and nothing they can ever do, like they don't want to change, or like they'll change but they don't want to like apologize for like what they did. And it's just like, it's just, sometimes it just makes me feel bad for them because it's just like, it's clear as day that like they will never change. And it sucks because it's like, you have such a great opportunity to become a better person if you just admitted that you were wrong, humbled yourself, and changed for the better. Because if you humbled yourself and you just changed, and you just like realized that like, okay, hey, something I did wasn't the best, I'm sorry, let me work on myself, it's gonna take me some time, but like I'm working on myself. Because a lot of Gen Z is hurting because they never are gonna get closure from things that other people did to them, that specifically adults did to them, be it their parents, teachers, whatever. And I'm gonna say this with the most genuine intent. A lot of Gen Z have problems because of their parents. That is something that I've never wanted to like say, because like I said, because every time when I talk about parents, I get backlash. I do. And it makes me regret like speaking my mind, and then it reminds me of when I was a kid, and every time I vocalized my opinion, people got mad at me because I was saying things that they didn't like, and then it made me shut down. So every time when I made statements about things, whether it be about parents or adults or anything, and I got backlash for it, it reminded me of how I was when I was a kid, and it made me not want to speak. It made me regret ever opening my mouth and saying what I had to say, and it just triggered me back to my old habits of like secluding myself and just wanting to be alone for the rest of my life. And I would just be like, I'm never going to speak about anything that I have to say ever again. But I keep seeing what over and over again of how like hurt and like pain Gen Z is about things that their parents did to them. And I want to talk about it because this is an issue that we have, that we talk to our parents about, and some parents do listen, but most of them don't. And it's just very sad to see that, like, they genuinely are confused as to why their kids don't want to talk to them when they get older. Like when they move out, they distance themselves, or why they're so quick to want to move away to college. They're like, oh, like I did everything for them and then being ungrateful. No, because it's like you guys worked hard when it came to financial stability. And a lot of parents work hard when it came to financial stability. That was what they did. And you guys did a great job. We're grateful, we're thankful, we're appreciative. But there was something that you guys lacked, and it came with emotional support. A lot of parents didn't know how to give their kids emotional support that they really needed. And there is nothing wrong with admitting that. Just because you weren't the best parent when it came to emotional support back then, it doesn't mean you can't do it now. And the minute you acknowledge that and realize that maybe I wasn't the best emotional support system to my kid like I thought I was, like I claimed to be. Because the thing is, you can sit here and tell them to your blue in the face that you love them unconditionally and that they can talk to you about anything they want to talk to you about. But your actions speak louder than your words. You can sit there and tell them that they can tell you about anything, but your actions show you can tell them about anything that hurts them except when it comes to you. When they have to talk to you about what you did to them, all of a sudden they can't talk about it anymore because they won't get the emotional support that they expect to get, that you told them that you would give. Because now the mirror is pointed at you and you don't like that, so your reaction is different and it causes more pain than it does. It's not constructive. It's just causing more. It's just causing the kid pain because they had to open up to you about what you put them through. And then for you to reject them, you are making them relive the issue that they just told you that really affected them. Now they have added baggage to it because now they have two memories of it. The memory of it happened the first time and the memory of you rejecting them when you told them about it. So now on top of that, now because you're mad at them, you're spewing out all your anger onto them, and now they're having to deal with your emotions as well. They have to deal with the trauma of the event, reliving the trauma and being rejected. No, they have to live with the trauma of the event, the rejection of you and not acknowledging that caused them pain, and then your emotions. That is a lot of baggage for children to have to carry just for one event alone. And then imagine having to do that for every single thing that they tell you about. Having to do having to deal with these same three heavy things over and over and over and over again. Multiple times for years. And sometimes that's what causes the ultimate drift between the parent and the child, because the child is seeing that the parent, even though the parent claims to love them, they're not giving them the emotional support that they need. They're not being emotionally supportive. They're not acknowledging that they're a person who has flaws and therefore they should change because they have flaws. And also because of hypocrisy, because it's like you will sit here, like if I make a mistake, I'm expected to apologize and to beg and plead for your forgiveness, but yet you make a mistake and I'm supposed to pretend like it never happened. It's not fair. And you may say life is unfair. Life is unfair because of people. People make life unfair. Life can be fair, but people like you make it unfair. Or adults make it unfair. That's why life is unfair. First of all, it's unfair because of sin. We live in a fallen world. That's why life is unfair. But also because of people. People can make it a fair world, but we choose to be unfair because it benefits us. And when your kid is sitting there telling you that you did something that hurt them, and instead your reaction is to like be mad because they said something about you, how about you take a second to just step back and don't focus. And yes, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have a reaction and to be a human with emotions. You are a human being, so you will have emotions, you will have reactions. However, you have to understand, you have to start thinking about the actions that you do to your kid and to people in general. And think about, was it an overreaction? Was that the proper way how to respond? How does that person feel? Because you guys will sit here and yell and scream at kids and send them to their room and then not have to deal with their emotions and make the kid deal with it on their own. You guys are actively showing them that they cannot trust you with their emotions, because when they give it to you, when they're trying to trust you with their emotions, you show them that you cannot handle it or that you don't want to handle it because you either don't care or you don't think they're important. That's what you're showing them. And if that's not what you mean to do, the next time your kid says something to you, actively, like, listen, you can have your emotions, you can have your feelings, but do not act upon them. Do not act and yell at your kid and be like, oh, well, how was I supposed to know how to do this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like, and let's say you do that. Let's say, you know, you react that way and then you really shouldn't have done that. Go up to your kid, like, a day or two later and talk about what just happened. Talk about what happened. Talk about why you acted that way. Because I guarantee you, when you do little things like that, when you show your kids that you are a human being who either had a past and you're trying to figure out how to navigate it yourself, and that sometimes you're going to react in ways that aren't good, and that, like, you're not going to be a perfect person, so you're going to make mistakes, and that you're sorry for them, that's going to show that kid that they can trust you with their emotions, but also that, like, you're a person dealing with things too. Because kids won't know that their parents are going through things unless they tell them. You don't know what someone's going through unless they tell you. Because we think that parents are perfect because they expect us to be perfect, and also because of the way how they treat us. So when we see that you guys aren't perfect, but yet you expected us to be perfect or close to it, we get frustrated, because it's like, how are you going to sit here and expect me to be something that you never was yourself, or that you can never even show me how to be? How did you expect me to do this when I never had an example of it? Like, the expectations that parents set for their kids sometimes is unrealistic. And when you set the bar so high because you want your kid to be great, and then your kid's like, hey, I can't meet these expectations sometimes, can you lower them a little bit? You guys get mad and be like, oh, well, you're being lazy, you're being this, you're being that. And no, in reality, we're just trying to be honest about how we feel about the situation. And instead of you seeing that, you're seeing it as, like, us just, like, wanting the easy way out. Like, there's reasons why kids say the things they say and have the feelings they have. And if you would take the time to actually sit there and think, my kid is reacting a certain way, and they do this reaction a lot. Why is that? That's something that a lot of parents never thought to do because they never saw it in their parents themselves, or they don't think it's something important to do. Emotional support is just as important as financial. Physical health mental health is just as important as physical health. Your mental health can affect your physical health. Your physical health can affect your mental health. And not enough parents take that seriously. We are in a generation where we acknowledge that our mental health is so important, and that emotional stability is equally as important as financial stability. Because you can have the most financially stable parents, but the most emotionally unstable parents, and hate your life. And a lot of parents raise their kids being emotionally unstable. And I'm not talking about mental illness unstable. Well, actually, I mean, they go kind of hand in hand, because it's like, you don't have to be, I don't know. But I don't know. Because I feel like people think if they're not, oh, like, you're only abusive if it's physical. Words hurt. Let's just make that very clear. Verbal abuse is very much a thing, and a lot of parents do it to their kids, both knowingly and unknowingly. And it's something that, like, a lot of parents, I'm pretty sure, have done to their kids, and they realized it, and they felt bad. So they're like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have said the things they said, because there's no reason why you should be calling kids names that aren't on their birth certificate. Why is this person standing right there? I'm gonna keep talking, because there's a car that's standing right next to me. It could have went further back. It could have went more up ahead. And instead it chose to stop right next to me. And now they're gonna be on the phone. Anyway, yeah, I don't. Okay, what was I gonna say? I was saying something and I got completely distracted by this person. But yeah, I just wish that adults could just be more understanding about emotional support and emotional well-being as much as they are about anything else, everything else actually. And it's just like, you will never have the relationship with your child that you want to have if you do not own up to the fact that you are a human being who has flaws, and that you are a person who has done some harm to your kid. Because I think the reason why parents get so like hurt when their kids say that they did something that hurt them is because they worked their entire lives being the person that said like, oh, like if anyone hurts you, like I'm gonna hurt anyone that hurts you, like I would never hurt you. And then to realize that you are the person that caused your kid harm, it's a punch in the face. Of course it's a taxi driver, because these idiots don't know how to do anything or whatever. What was I saying? I got distracted, sorry. I was saying something. Thank you. Like, I don't understand why that car stopped right now. Like, when I tell you it, like, pulled up to the, like, me and the driver could see each other eye to eye. Why? It's just beyond me. It just makes no sense. I'ma just keep going. But yeah, so I would just like, oh yeah, I was saying that, like, parents, that they probably feel hurt because it's like, they would like, you know, like, I feel like it's a punch. It feels like I feel like they think it's like a stab in the back, that like parents that genuinely have a lot of love, like unconditional love for their kids, and their kid is saying, you hurt me. They think that, like, you hurt people you don't love. Like, you can't, how can I hurt you if I love you so much? And the same way how you can hurt a friend, or you can hurt a partner, you can hurt a child. Just because you hurt someone that you love, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. Sometimes you say things that, like, are hurtful, and then you won't realize it until the person brings it up to you. Because if you can have a conversation, because the concept of someone talking to you, and then someone talking to you about what you put them through, and them telling you that with the intent to, like, let you know, hey, I care about you, I care about our relationship, and I want to let you know that you did this and it hurt my feelings, and I want to talk about it so I can move on from it, and so I can move on from it. You can be aware that this happened, and so that you won't do it again, so that we won't have this. We can squash this beef now, so it won't be a bigger problem in the future. That concept happens with friends, and it happens with partners. Why can't it happen with a parent and a child? Why is it that a parent telling a kid about their flaws with the intent to help them grow and become better humans is good, but then when the kid does it, it's wrong? When a kid is telling you about your flaws, I'm pretty sure it's with the same intent that you have with telling them about their flaws. When you tell a kid about a mistake they made, you're telling it with the intent to help them not do it again, so that way they can be better. So why is it that when the kid does it to you, now all of a sudden it's to make you feel like you're a bad person? Because if you're not doing it to your kid, if you don't tell your kid their flaws to make them feel bad about themselves, why do you think they would do that to you? It's like, I don't think parents think that kids are capable of helping them learn about themselves as well. Because if you are, whether you're a parent for the first time, or this is like your fourth kid, and you know, you think you got it down pat, but there's still some things you need to learn. Like, your kids can be the best way to learn about who you are as a person, because you don't know how you treat people unless they tell you how you treat them. You can think that you're doing one thing, but then it can actually be something else. Or people can be interpreting it as something else, and you can change with it. Oh, this is not what I meant. Let me try to do something different. And it's just like, I feel like parents feel like they can't do that, or that, like, that's not something that, like, kids would be able to do for them, because they're the ones that should be teaching their kids things, not the other way around. But just like how teachers can learn from their students, like, a teacher teaches the student, but the student can also teach the teacher. It is never too late. You are never too old to learn new tricks. Like, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yes, you can. You can't teach an ignorant dog new tricks. If a dog wants to stay ignorant, they will never learn anything because they don't want to. It'll be harder to teach an old dog new tricks. That doesn't mean you can't do it. The reason why that's a saying is because that's allowing people who are set in their ways to stay set in their ways because of their age, and because it's also because of ignorance. Because you are never too old to learn. You can always learn no matter how old you get. You can be in your 80s still learning new things. Just because you are older, it doesn't mean you can never learn from anyone. And I feel like the older you get, the more arrogant or prideful you get. Because if you're a humble person, you will let anyone be able to teach you. You will always be open to learning new things about yourself from other people, no matter their authority or their age. And I feel like it could be a pride thing where it's like you're an adult, so therefore no one younger than you should be telling you about yourself. And also I think it's because it's like, oh, the concept of respect your elders, and because you're telling an adult that they have a flaw, that's being disrespectful. It's not being disrespectful, it's being respectful. Because you want me to sit here and watch you be goofy and not tell you that you being goofy? I'm supposed to just sit here and let you act like an idiot? Like, I care about you. So I'm going to tell you that you acting silly or that you're in the wrong so you don't do it again. Because I don't want you acting like that. Because I want you to be a better person. But because I'm young, my opinion gets disregarded. And it gets discarded. And it gets ignored. So now I have to wait until someone's younger than me to teach them, because no one older than me wants to learn from me. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I'm not a parent. Because I'm not a teacher. Because I'm not this. I'm not that. Because I'm young. Like, I also feel like sometimes when people use their authority, like when people say, oh, like, I'm the parent, you're the child. A lot of times people that do that, I've noticed, it's an authority thing. Because there's no reason why you need to show your authority with your role or your age to someone half the time you're talking. Because half the time people say stuff like that, it's like they was no need to even acknowledge that, like I know who you are to me. Like, you don't think that you thought I forgot? Like, it's just like, oh, like, I don't understand why, like, I don't know. That's something that I don't understand, because it's like, you're gonna sit here and tell me that you're not one of my little friends, but yeah, you want me to talk to you like as if you are. You want me to open up about all my deepest, darkest secrets to you like as if you're my best friend. But yeah, you're not my friend. You keep telling me over and over again how I'm not your friend, how you're not my friend. And how we'll never be the same, how we're not equals, how we're not this, how we're not that. But yeah, you want me to talk to you like as if you're my best friend that knows every deep, dark secret about me. How does that make sense? It doesn't. That's the thing about it. It doesn't make sense. You want me to trust you like a best friend, but you keep telling me we're not friends at all. You keep telling me that you are higher than me. Why? Who are you trying to prove it to, me or yourself? Because I know who you are. Like, it's clear as day. But it's like, so because you're older than me, because you have a bigger role than me, that means you're not allowed to be corrected? So that means you're perfect. Oh, you're not perfect? So then why are you acting like you are? If you're not perfect, you should be able to take criticism regardless of who it's from. Especially if it's correct criticism. It'd be one thing if it was like criticism that doesn't make sense. That's one thing. Or like it sounds like it's coming out of ignorance. And even if it is coming out of ignorance, if it's coming from a child, you can humble them and be like, hey, I get what you're trying to do, but tone it down a bit. And let me explain to you why I'm doing this thing that I'm doing. Because when you open that, you use that as an opportunity to have a conversation with them about what's going on and the reason why you're doing what you're doing. It'll humble them real quick, but it'll also show them a piece of you and show that you're a human being and show your thought process behind why you do what you do. And it'll help your relationship with them be better. Whether it's, again, with a child, with a student, whoever. It'll help better your relationship with that person because it will show them why you do what you do. Instead of making them wait until they're like in their 20s to understand it. Yeah, so it's past 9 o'clock at this point. I hope there's no long line at the pharmacy, because this pharmacy's always having, it's either empty or a long line. I'm gonna go. I think that was enough of my rant. I was just like, I just wish adults would do better. Mentally, emotionally. I just wish that adults would get their emotions in line, in check. Say they're sorry. Be able to be humble and apologize to whoever they need to apologize to. Of course, the second I put this thing up, the sun comes back out. What was I saying? There's water in the car. From what? I don't know. Also, my feet are cold. But yeah, I'm just tired of seeing emotionally immature adults. But also, I just wish that the grace and mercy that adults expect the kids to give them, they would give to kids too. And young adults. Because it's like, we had a reason to act out, but you didn't. And even when you did, like, when you know better, you're supposed to do better, and you guys actively kept choosing not to do better. And some parents will continue to not do better, or some teachers will continue to not do better. Like, and it's like, I use parents as an example, but it's just adults in general, because even teachers do the same thing. Like, teachers will expect kids to, like, the whole thing of, like, oh, well, it's like if you're having a bunch of homework assignments and then they ask for an extension. Oh, well, you should manage your time better. But then when it comes to grading them assignments, all of a sudden it's, oh, well, I have a lot of students, and like, so I need more time. Like, I remember there was a time in high school where I had a class and we had this teacher, and this teacher did not want to give extensions or anything, because they were like, oh, well, you should learn how to manage your time better. So then everyone's either giving in their work on time or late or whatever, and then we're waiting like a month. We have yet to get our grades, and they had the audacity to be like, I have 81 students, so like it's gonna take me some time to grade it. And say, oh, but then when we told you that we had a bunch of assignments from your coworkers, from your friends, you didn't bat an eye to that. You said we had to manage our time better. So how are you going to sit here and tell us we need to manage our time better when you can't even manage your own time better? And then that same teacher had the audacity to constantly ridicule students for not going to their class because they were going to the guidance counselor, because they were having mental health problems, because we were all mentally ill kids in high school, and trying to make it look like, oh, they're just trying to cut class. Like, let's be so for real. Why would you think the guidance counselor would allow students to cut class? That makes no sense. 1. 2, if I'm constantly skipping your class to go to the guidance counselor, clearly there's something wrong with me. Either with me going to you, or with me in my own life. Like, it's like, they didn't think that, like, and then the reason why I brought it up is because later on in the year, a situation happened, and that same teacher wanted to talk about their mental health, and I was foaming at the mouth. I will never forget that day, because I have never written such an essay of an email to a teacher in my entire life until that moment. Like, y'all can, I literally had to, like, yell and scream at my mom about it, because I was so mad. Because I'm like, this teacher had the audacity to be acting like that. But then now, it's like, the teacher wanted to basically the teacher was being a hypocrite. Because it's like, you want to sit here and actively complain about how we're not doing this, we're not doing that, but you turn around and do the exact same thing. And then be like, oh, well, I can't do this because of my mental health. Oh, but then when we don't go to your class because we have to go to the guidance counselor to make sure we don't do bad things, all of a sudden, there's no excuse, there's no reason. Oh, figure it out. But then when your health is in the way, all of a sudden now we need to pay attention to mental health and be aware of it. I sent them the longest email I've ever wrote in my entire life because I was so mad. I was like, how dare you do that? How dare you? How freaking dare you? And it was just like, it was so upsetting because it was like, there were so many like the concept of just like, especially in high school, how there are just some adults that are just so inconsiderate for kids. So inconsiderate. And so just rude for no reason to kids. Especially about mental health. It drives me insane because like y'all will see kids do things and then instead of like talking to us individually asking what's going on, you will ridicule us and like get mad at us and then try to come at us about it. Thinking and then like try to either come at us or embarrass us in front of other people. Like I remember one time there was a day where my class had like I talked about this before but I'm gonna talk about it again. There was a day when we had senior skip day, and this was the one day we collectively as a unit all agreed to do something for once. And the next day, every teacher chewed us up about it. Every teacher that we had that day chewed us up. And I don't like being yelled at. Like, it's something that I genuinely hate. So being yelled at by 3 different teachers, I was literally like, I've had enough. So by the third teacher that got at us, I went off on her because I was like, I'm sick of being yelled at about all these things that have nothing to do with me. And I was like, I'm not trying to sound like picky. I'm not trying to sound like arrogant or like an itch by saying this, but like I am not failing your class in any way whatsoever. Like I'm literally one of the top students in this grade, and yet I'm being yelled at like as if I'm failing. Like this makes no sense. Like, you guys know who you're talking about. How about you individually take those kids outside and talk to them and tell them how they need to get their grades up because they're failing? I do not need to hear that. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm having to hear this for the 3rd time. This is ridiculous. And then she came up to me privately. Like, not privately, but, like, she stopped. And then she came out to me and was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't care about your apology because you're the 3rd teacher that kept getting at us about this issue. Like, we skipped school for one day. Y'all act like as if we never did work our entire school grade. And it's like, y'all have the audacity to come at us about the one thing we did. But yeah, y'all put us through so much that entire year. And you have the audacity to complain about the one freaking thing we did. Like, be so for real. Get out of my face with this BS. Get out of my face with that, because y'all gonna sit here and act because y'all were the perfect teachers when y'all were one of the worst teachers we ever had in our entire school career. Like, be so for real for 2 freaking seconds and look in the goddamn mirror because you're such a hypocrite. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. Get out of my face with that BS. Like, it's disgusting and stupid, and I'm sick of it. So that's how I was feeling. I was so mad about it. And then I was just like, I don't care for your apology because just stop. Like, we got yelled at by 2 other teachers. Like, how much more yelling? And I'm pretty sure you do that every single class you had today. There's only 3 classes in this entire grade. Aren't you tired of yelling? Because I'm tired of hearing you speak. And then on top of that, for you, out of all people, you was gone for 4.5 months and you mad at me for missing 1 day? Get out of my face. Get out of my face with that. Because, be so for real. You were gone for 4.5 months and gave us a packet to do. I missed 1 day, and you want to talk about how I'm borderline failing? Get in my face with that. Get in my face with that. On top of that, I'm not gonna go into more details because it's just like I just didn't appreciate the hypocrisy that these teachers were portraying. We missed 1 day of school, and yeah, I like as if it was the end of the world. And that's what I mean is that like adults, kids do one thing, and y'all outbursts are outrageous. But yeah, y'all do 12 different things, and we're supposed to just act like it never happened. That's the craziness, the audacity of it all. And that's why it's just so upsetting, because it's like, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, y'all really could have just done better, and y'all chose not to. Like, it's just upsetting, because it's like you had so many chances to do better, and over and over and over and over again, you chose not to do better. So it's just upsetting. It's frustrating. And I have the right to vocalize my opinions, because it's just like, I have the right to acknowledge that that's upsetting to have to witness. And then to see that that's how people, like, and then that's how they live in society. And then that's how they make their mind, they make decisions in the world, and how they like expect us how to navigate it's just like, it's just upsetting. Adulting sucks when you have to see things like that. Because it's just so frustrating having to see people who claim to know better don't do better. And I'm not talking about people that, you know, they have a past, but they're actively working on themselves and they acknowledge their flaws and they're progressing. I'm not talking about people like that, because you at some point humbled yourself and realized that you were a person and you need to apologize for your mistakes, and you're actively trying to make a change. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about the people that had opportunities to change and chose not to because they thought they were better than the people that were telling about themselves. That's the people that I'm talking about. That's the people that I look at, I see, both in real life and on media, and it pisses me off. Because it's like, you will sit here and behave that way and then wonder why no one wants to deal with you. Like, it's confusing, it's infuriating, but also it's just frustrating, because it's just like, now we have to, like, work twice as hard to unlearn the things that you taught us because you don't want to unlearn them yourself. And that's the reality of it all. But at the end of the day, you give grace because God gave it to us. And people that don't want to, like change and they want to be ignorant, you gotta love them from a distance. And that's another thing, is that you gotta love them from a distance. And a lot of people are starting to realize that, like, some of y'all are the people that are being loved from a distance. Why does no one talk to me anymore? Because no one wants to deal with you. Like, no one wants to deal with the parent that never wants to mature and get better. No one wants to deal with that. And then when you get old and rickety, you expect me to take care of you? Like, I'm supposed to take care of you, but yet you never took care of me emotionally. I'm supposed to take care of you, but yet every time I'm around you, I want to choke you out. That's why all the older people get put in nursing homes, because their family don't want to deal with them, because they've suffered enough. They suffered enough. And the fact that you're in a nursing home and being paid to be in that nursing home, that's enough treatment for you. Because I could have made you be homeless. I could have just left you to rot. But I'm putting you in a nursing home and I'm paying for it. Because nursing homes are expensive. Good ones at that. Now, nursing homes, they do get neglected and do get abused, unfortunately, because that's a whole topic for another day about the health insurance, and that's not this episode. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just very... That's a whole topic for another day. Yeah, I'm gonna go because I need to get my meds, but also need to go home. And I'm done talking. Like, I will continue talking and just rambling. So I just had to get that out there because I just been thinking about it. And the thing is, I wanted to make this I wanted to structure out the episode and, like, put thoughts and have points. But I was just thinking about it today, and I was like, I gotta get it out, because this is just, I think for the past, like, 3 days, I've just been, like, thinking about it, and I just kept having little instances happen, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go insane. So I had to let it out. And, yeah. I'm really hoping that when I get back in the car, that there isn't a car parked right in front of me, because now I'm gonna leave. Alright, I'm gonna go. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching, whatever this is, a video, an episode, whatever it is. Like and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment down below if you are a Gen Z or younger, whatever generation you are. Let me know your thoughts about this. If you're a parent or you're an adult who watched this, yeah, I was a bit upset when I was making this episode. I have emotions. I'm a human being. Because if y'all able to have temper tantrums, why can't I have one? Like, you know what I mean? But on a real note, it's like, I would just say that, like, whenever you see a kid, or like whenever you see your kid or a young adult or whoever, whenever you see a young person expressing how they feel and they're angry, it's because they experienced pain at one point. They're angry about the pain it caused them. Like, whenever I think about how parents, not really parents, but how adults treat young people, it makes me angry, because I remember what it was like being on the other side of it, and it caused me a lot of issues. Like, it caused me a lot of issues. Like, I was gonna say it again. A lot of the things that were, 90% of my problems are things that were said to me, and I'm healing from it gracefully, by the grace of God. I'm healing. I'm learning. I'm overcoming. But a lot of it could have been avoided. And that's what makes me mad, because it's like all of that, a lot of it could have been avoided. But some things happen because, you know, situations, like there are some things that it's like, you know, I talked about it, we squashed it, it's over. And I can look back at it as a learning lesson. And there were times where I had to be the person to realize that I'm the problem. And that's also the reason why I get so mad when it's like, I don't understand why adults cannot, accountability, it's holding yourself accountable. Because as a Christian, in order to become a Christian, you have to repent for your sins. You have to hold yourself, repenting for your sins is holding yourself accountable. Accountability, admitting that you fell short, that you are not a perfect person, and that you need Jesus to help you. You are admitting, you are holding yourself accountable and asking for forgiveness. So if you could do that for God, why can't you do it for your kids? When they're the blessing that God gave you, but yeah, you can't acknowledge that you are a human being and you can't hold yourself accountable. Like, accountability is 101. And on top of that, in the Bible, it talks about how, like, be like a kid. Like, have, like, undoubtful faith in God, and, like, you know, being so believing and honest and just, like, open to running to Him for problems. So when your kids run to you about your problems, you should be able to be humble and be able to acknowledge that, like, sometimes you're the problem and say sorry. Because I had to do that in my life at one time. And I was like, oh, snap. And that was the real click in my head to be like, I gotta change. Because I had one of my closest friends tell me that I was the problem. And I was like, oh, you're so right. I'm sorry. And it took us like a year to, like, you know, we had a rough patch for like a year where it was like, you know, we had to figure some things out. And we did. And our relationship is better than ever. Like, we're still best friends and everything. Like, and I look back at that moment all the time to be like, that's what you have to do. And it's like, sometimes you have to realize that you are the problem and say you're sorry and move on. But you can't be a better person if you don't hold yourself accountable. That's the whole thing. Learn how to hold yourself accountable, no matter who it is. And you're like, oh, well, that's your friend, so that's different. No. Like, there are some times, but like, prime example, I have a little brother, and I do a lot of, like, the habits that I want to do to my kids. Like, if I have a family, I do to him. Like, I try to be equally, like, you know, I try to give him as much emotional support as I can. And there are a lot of times when, like, there have been 1 or 2 times when it's like, he would come at me, not come at me, but he would, like, tell me, like, hey, like, you did that, and that, I didn't like that. And I'd be like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Like, it was one time when we were playing Overcooked, and if you played Overcooked, you know how that is the most stressful game you ever played in your entire life. I was playing that game with him, and I kept getting mad at him, so I kept yelling at him. And then one day I asked, do you want to play Overcooked? He was like, no, I don't want to play. And I'm like, why? He's like, because you keep yelling at me. And he was like, if we play, you can't yell at me anymore. And I was like, and I could tell that he was kind of like hurt, because sometimes I was screaming at him about the game, because it's a game, so I was getting competitive. But I was kind of doing too much. And I was like, all right, I'm sorry. Like, you know, like, I shouldn't have done that. That was my bad. And it's like something as small as that, like me admitting that I was wrong and that he was right, and me saying I'm sorry, that, like, me doing it in those little moments, it helps me build his trust that when other things happen, he can come to me and tell me about them. Like, sometimes he'll like hold back, or like he'll be like, oh, something happened, and I'll ask him what's wrong, and he won't tell me, and I'm like, are you gonna tell me later? He's like, I don't want to tell you right now. And I'm like, okay, I respect it. And then like hours later, he'll tell me what happened that same day, or like maybe the next day. He'll be like, okay, I'll tell you what happened. Because I gave him his space, because I acknowledge that when you're angry, you're not in the mood to talk about it all the time. Sometimes you need space to think about it, and then you can come back collected and talk about what happened. He's a kid. But like, I'm not like, tell me now. You need to tell me now, or else we're not going to deal with it. Like, I give him his respect because he's also a human being, and I treat him like a person. I treat him how I would want to be treated. The same, that concept, when it comes to treat people how you want to be treated, it also applies to kids as well. Whether that's your kid or someone else's kid. Treat people how you want to be treated. It doesn't say treat older people, treat your friends, treat your partner how you want to be treated. It says treat people. Last time I checked, kids are people too. They're not robots. If they're human beings, that includes them too. So, if you want grace and mercy when you make mistakes, have grace and mercy to your kids when they make mistakes too. Have grace and mercy to your students when they make mistakes too. Have grace and mercy to the kids that you see around in the street, Give grace and mercy to them too. Because it's crazy how you want that, but you can't give it. And that's why I constantly give it. Because it's like, I would want people to treat me. I treat my brother how I wish I was treated. That's what I'm doing to him. I give him the emotional support that I would want people to give me. And that I have been given by people. So that's what I do for him. And it's like, I want to get in the habit of doing that. So when I'm talking to other kids, I can continue to do it to them. And then when I have my own kids, I can do it to them too. Like, yes, you can hold kids accountable and be like, all right, sometimes you got to stand your ground. But you don't have to be mean about it. You don't have to be rude about it. Like, you don't have to be doing the most just to prove a point. All right. I'm done talking for real now because that was it. I just had to get that out there. This was just a rant, an hour and 45-minute rant, but it was a rant nonetheless. And it's just like, if you could take one thing from this, take this with the understanding that like I was saying, the reason why there's some points I was angry in this video is because I just wish that parents and adults, especially older adults, would just understand that, like, young people, there's a lot of young people hurting. And you might be the reason for it. And if you want to help stop that, or you really want to help them, listen to them when they talk to you. Genuinely listen to them and actually take into consideration what they're telling you. And even if it's about yourself, swallow that pill. And if they're wrong and you know why they're wrong, educate them about it in a manner that is informative, but also understanding and helpful. And if you can't do that, take some time away for a minute and then go back to them and have a conversation with them about it. Talk to them how you would want to be talked to. Treat them how you would want to be treated in that situation. Put yourself in their shoes, because a lot of times parents are like, oh, you'll understand me when you get older. A kid always has to understand the parents. But I rarely ever see parents trying to understand the kids. And I think it's because parents forget what it's like to be a kid. They forget what it's like to experience that type of pain. Because if they remember the type of pain that they felt when their parents did to them, they wouldn't do it to their kids. Or they're too blinded by other issues that they're dealing with that they don't even realize what they're doing. But then it's like, but then when you're getting told about them, you should do better. And instead you're not. You're doing the same thing over and over again. And then expecting kids to just be okay with it. You're expecting kids to be okay with being mistreated. And that's not right. So, I just say, don't take this as an attack. I'm not saying this to be attackful. Yes, I said, like, the behavior of being ignorant, I think is ugly. The action of it is ugly. I don't think people that are ignorant at times are ugly, but I think when you do an action, but then you continue to do the action and you don't want to change ever, I do find you an ugly person if you do that, because it's like, that's ugly behavior, because that's just showing that you are being prideful, and God doesn't like prideful people either. So like, there's multiple times in the Bible he says, be humble, have humility, don't be prideful, because when you're a prideful person, you will never hold yourself accountable. You will think that you are perfect, and that you think that you don't need to answer to anybody, and so therefore you will stay ignorant for the rest of your life. And that's ugly behavior, and it makes you become an ugly person, and it makes you do things that you shouldn't be doing and hurt people that you shouldn't have hurt. That's the truth about it. So, if you are a person, if I was talking in this episode or this video, whatever, and you felt offended by what I said, it's probably because I'm talking about you. And my advice to you is to reflect on your life and see all the times that people have told you that they hurt you, that you hurt them, and see how you reacted. And see how that made your relationship with them better or worse. Because if you had that conversation with them and your relationship with them dwindled each time, that means it made it worse, and you either didn't see it or you didn't care to make note about it. So, there's that. I just realized this could be my video for the week. I was not gonna post a video this week because I didn't edit at all. And now I could probably post this week, because I'm not going to edit this at all. I think if anything, I'm going to just get TikTok clip of it to, like, promote it. But I'm not going to edit this at all. I'm going to just have it be one whole clip. Yeah. So, that's it. I'm going to go for real now. Thank you guys for watching this long episode. I hope I hope that the people that understand where I'm coming from, like, I hope that, I know the young people get it, because because I've seen people talk about it so many times on TikTok, on social media, so much. It's shown in media, and it's like, if you are a parent or a teacher, if you are a person of authority over young people, and you genuinely care about them, listen to them. When they talk to you, listen to them. That's the one thing that can help. You actively listening to them. And if you don't know what to do, ask God to help you. Be like, yo, God, what's going on? Help me out. Like, help me figure this out, because I don't know what's going on with them. Help me figure out what's going on in the situation. And also, if you are noticing that your kid is like doing things, oh, they keep being like upset, they keep doing this, like, what's their problem? That could be, there's something wrong. Something could be wrong, and you just don't know to like look into it to figure out what's the issue. So I digress. I say all that to say, just be mindful of like what you do and say, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this video, whatever this is. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video I post, or next episode. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Comment, leave a comment down below about the topic if you want. If you have something you want to add, something you liked, something you didn't like. I will debate about the dislikes. But yeah, leave a comment down below if you want. And you can follow my podcast Instagram. It's @RanChessWith Anna. I'll leave it in the description down below, because I probably won't want to edit this at all. I probably just want to post it just up. Yeah, so I'll leave it down. My social medias will be down in the description box below. My podcast Instagram, like I said, is @RanChessWith Anna. No, it's not. Random Chess with Ananda. Sorry, that's my podcast Instagram. My regular Instagram, and also my TikTok and Threads, is just @AnotherCash. And yeah, it'll be in the description box. It'll be in the description box down below. Words, I couldn't compute them. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say. So I will see you guys the next time I upload the video. I will have a video coming up soon. I was editing it last week, and I just couldn't. I needed more days to edit, and then this week I got my period, and I was just like, I was not in the mood to do anything. So I'm gonna edit. I still have a video coming up next week. Next week for sure, I have a video coming up that I'm really excited about editing. I'm putting in a lot of work. I'm putting a lot of work and effort into my videos now. That's why they're taking longer to upload. Well, not longer to upload, but that's what they're taking more time to edit. But I get like passionate about each one that I post, so I'm really happy and excited. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I will see you guys next week with my video. Yeah, bye. Oh, okay. Bye.